It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He's Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. This is Red Eye Radio, the original sin. Gary, how are you?
Let's start the show with, are these real headlines or the Babylon Bee? All right?
Babylon Bee
Right.
or real? Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
Babylon Bee or real? Here we go.
Which, by the way, we as an asterisk, sometimes the Babylon Bee is real, but don't muddy up the waters. We'll just Babylon Bee or a real headline.
Yes. Here's the first headline. Rachel Maddow strikes a blow against institutional racism at MSNBC. We brought that up yesterday, and even the day before she said anything. That is a real headline.
That's a real headline.
Yes.
That's a real headline. Yep.
Here's another one. Cover-upper Jake Tapper writes a book about cover-up of Biden's decline. Is that real headline or is that the Babylon Bee?
Both.
It might be. I haven't checked the Babylon Bee. Here's headline. By the way, that's a real headline.
Yeah.
The third one. The Washington Post wants you to know it's done being the Washington Post.
Okay. All right. Are they just now leaning into it now, going, the Babylon Bee is doing more accurate journalism than we are. We just need to start writing like the Babylon Bee. They may have, we're just going to lean into it now.
Now I've got to check the Babylon Bee here.
Yeah. By the way, and just announced because there's so much hot talk about Jake Tapper, the book with who's it, Alex Thompson.
Yes,
and that the publisher has announced Jake Tapper's next book will be 2 + 2 = 4. And other Captain Obvious moments. Yeah.
Well,
acknowledging something the whole world already knows.
Well, there's two things here. First off, I did see a couple of people talking about Alex Thompson at Axios saying he did bring up the cognitive decline.
Yeah.
That you can look at him and say, all right, he did. Now, I would have to go back and look at everything that he ever wrote during that particular time. And I really didn't pay attention to what he was doing at Axios. But people that I trust said, no, he actually did. But Jake Tapper, as we all know, did not.
Right.
Jake Tapper was part of the major cover-up. But before we get to that, that's the point. You're trying to sell a book that everybody already knows the contents of the book.
Yeah.
And so who's going to buy it? Are Democrats going to buy a book that says there was a cover-up of Biden?
No, because they were all part of it, or they just ignored it. I don't believe, especially the rank and file, they knew what was going on, so they ignored it. They already know this. They're not going to buy the book.
Right.
Who was it, Maureen Dowd, that said all of her friends back in the 2016 campaign that there was negative news about Hillary Clinton, all of her friends would just close the doors and turn off the TV and draw the blinds, just basically put the blinders on. People have been putting the blinders on for the last 4 years. They're not going to buy the book. Like, what are they going to do? Why would they buy the book? To learn something? No, they already know it.
And I mean, this is the one. There's been a ton of audio cuts, but this is the one audio cut that's been going around like crazy about Jake Tapper being a part of this book, because this is part of the cover-up. Remember when this is during the campaign, his senior advisor, Lara Trump, and she was out there talking about the mental decline, and he was like, it's a stutter. She goes, I had no idea he stuttered.
Right.
And then listen to Jake, and then Jake Tapper is just, you can tell, he is livid. I mean, he just wasn't into the cover-up. He was passionately insane on the cover-up.
He would fight you over it.
Right.
Yeah.
Here we go. Here it is.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make...
I had to stop it right there. It's like,
what about the children? What about the children? I don't know. It sounds like I'm listening to a child right now. Thanks, Jake.
All right, let's. I had to stop it there. We'll do it over again.
Yeah, okay.
It's just you lead.
It's absurd.
You lead with politics of the cognitive decline about. What do you think it's doing to the children?
Yeah, well,
I haven't heard that really since. I mean, because that was a Clinton thing.
How do you think the homeless pets feel about this? I mean,
it's for the children.
It's for the
for the children. Now, some of you may be too young to remember that, but that was in the 90s. That was during the Clinton administration. It's for the children. It's for the children. Everything was for the children.
Yes, it's for the children.
But here we go. All right, let's. I won't talk again during it, but I had to stop it when it's like you start with, before you say, "Look, that's a stutter," you have to throw in something.
What about the children?
That is just so negative that must be your intent.
Yeah.
To deceive the children,
right.
And the children who are stuttering. And here's a president who stutters. I never knew that.
Nobody ever brought that up in decades of him being in public office.
Besides Jake Tapper bringing it up, did you ever remember anybody saying that he has a stuttering problem?
No.
All right, so here we go.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
you have
to watch somebody on stage search for
so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter.
Yeah,
I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you. Your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing to say.
I'm not diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
you just talked
is
about
that
a cognitive decline.
That Joe Biden
I have one last
struggling
question for you, Laura. You can't
times on stage, and it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay,
that is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel sorry for Joe Biden.
See,
he's a joke. He's just absolutely a joke. By the way, you have no medical standing. You're coming off as a pediatrician. Who the hell do you think you are? This is why nobody likes CNN. This is why nobody wants to watch that heaping, steaming piece of trash. This guy you just heard, going tooth and nail, has written a book about the cover-up of the cognitive decline.
Yes. This is amazing.
Same guy. You're a liar, Jake. You're a wholly dishonest person, and you should quit your job.
There it is. Original sin. President Biden's decline, its cover-up, and his disastrous choice to run again, Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson.
Jake Tapper has diagnosed Joe Biden, and he's not a doctor. He not only did it, he put it in permanent writing in a book that will live on for weeks. Because after that, the ones that are sitting on the shelves are going to be burned because nobody's buying them, literally and figuratively.
Well, I did buy OJ's book that he was looking for the real killer on the golf course.
Yeah. How about the one called I Did It by OJ? I thought it was going to be about double murder, but it wasn't.
We're going to start doing some Norm Macdonald lines.
Hey, what about double murder? I mean, this is. But you know what?
I thought that was the Babylon Bee when I first read that headline yesterday.
Yes, exactly.
I went, well, that's ridiculous.
Well, that's a
joke,
right? Well, how was Joe Scarborough not one of the authors of the book? Right?
That would have been That would have been the only worse thing than Jake Tapper.
Right. But it is the inevitable, how is it not? Because remember when you had the Wall Street Journal report that came out, and you had dozens of people that basically were their sources that said Biden doesn't even attend the national security meetings at times because he's not capable of doing it. And I didn't hear anybody refute that. Maybe Joy Reid. Let me be clear what I said. I didn't hear anybody refute that, and I never watched Joy Reid. I only heard her when we played audio from her on the show. But nobody really went back at the Wall Street Journal on that report. And then what did we hear from the liberal media? Maybe we underreported it. Next thing you know, Jake Tapper, Mr. I'll fight you tooth and nail over this. He's the other guy that would probably say F you if you can't handle the truth about Joe Biden. He's more cognitively clear than anybody I know, is writing a book, just wrote a book. The Original Sin with Alex Thompson, and wants you to believe he wasn't part of the cover-up.
I know. I wonder, now, it would be okay if he put Chapter 2, how I was a part of the cover-up.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I mean, if he had, now that would have to be the introduction, Chapter 1, and you have to understand that I was part of the cover-up, so I understand the cover-up.
Yeah, and by the way,
that's why I'm an expert on it.
I wish you would have asked me to write the whole thing about the author. I'll tell you. And the forward. I'll do the whole thing. Call me next time, publisher. You want the truth. This is the inevitable turn. We can't believe there's a cup. They want you to believe none of this existed. By the way, it's Jake Tapper. How many years ago was it? They act as if the internet doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That was about the time we were saying.
Yeah.
We were saying essentially what Elon Musk is now saying, you are the media. We were saying back then, you can find the truth. These people they act as if the internet doesn't even exist, that you can't counter them. You know, we go back to the former moderator, of Meet the Press.
Chuck Todd?
Russert. Tim Russert
yeah.
would, on Sunday morning, here's the deal. Devil's advocate. Didn't matter. You know, here's what you said. You know, you read a quote from whatever, from whether it was in a newspaper or something, or maybe play audio. And here's what you're saying now. Why the difference? You know, he'd call you out. Well, you know, aside from that, there was no real journalism. Tim Russert was well aware that the internet existed. He used it quite a bit for his research, and he did a lot of it. He did the work. We've been saying for years, you can find the truth. Jake Tapper wants you to believe the internet doesn't exist, that he wasn't fighting tooth and nail against anyone who was claiming cognitive decline of Joe Biden. This is not just hilarious. It's also tragic that we give anybody like this any credibility whatsoever.
Yeah, because if he is not included as part of the cover-up, and a significant portion of it with him, CNN, and the examples of how he covered it up when it was obvious to the American public what was going on. And again, you know, she wasn't. None of us were diagnosing his precise affliction or whatever. All we were saying is because it's obvious and self-evident, because we've dealt with it. If you're our age, we've all dealt with it with our relatives and our parents,
yep.
And we've seen it happen. And you know, when the cognitive decline, you're not, as we said before, I'm not diagnosing what it is.
We know it's a cognitive decline.
Right. We know there's a cognitive decline. What it is precisely, you would have to have a medical professional diagnose.
Yep.
But we all knew it. That's why, the book, it's like, all right, let's state the obvious.
Yeah.
Just, it is amazing.
It's amazing. It's again, this is them trying to make the pivot.
Yeah.
Come out. Let's just clean the slate. No, you don't get away with that. You don't, because the internet exists. And we're going to play the audio of you, again, just like you just heard, Jake Tapper, fighting anyone who would claim cognitive decline of Joe Biden. And the cover-up that I was a part of. Finish the sentence, Jake.
Right. Now, that would have been honest.
Yep.
That should have been the book.
I helped cover.
Right.
The other, I did it.
Right.
Yeah.
The biggest cover-up in American political history, and I was a part of it,
Yeah.
Jake Tapper.
Yep.
That would be accurate.
Yep. That's it.
I just love it.
I mean, it's
great stuff.
I swear, I could hear the collective laugher. The laughing going on right now. Laugher, I'm thinking of the laugher curve. The laughing going on when the name of the original sin and then the authors were announced. I think Jake Tapper.
Yeah. I thought it was a joke. I really did. I thought it was a joke. I said, okay, who's doing this joke here?
Well, one of the first headlines I read, I thought, what, is he commenting on a book that somebody wrote? And then I'm reading, the first sentence. He wrote the book. He wrote the book. What do you mean he wrote the book?
He is the book.
It's like, it's like Roger Waters writing a book about the plight of the Jews.
866, we got a great show. 866-90 Red Eye.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Tires command a lot of attention. As a top expense for drivers and a leading cause of CSA violations, any tire maintenance practice that can help extend tire life is worth consideration. Consider tire balancing, which can set you up for savings and a smoother ride before your tires touch the highway. Tire balancing corrects an uneven distribution of weight in tires and wheel assemblies, but the trick is to be proactive and not reactive. Conduct routine pre- and post-trip tire inspections and pay special attention to inflation. Tires with too little air will wear prematurely and create more resistance, which can result in increased fuel consumption, a harsher ride, and ultimately lead to a blowout.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So I went to sleep. And right before I went to sleep, I saw the story, and the liberals were making it go viral about Don Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Don Jr. saying that we should be allies in sending weapons to Russia to fight against Ukraine. And I remember thinking, that's not true. Oh, there's no way that's true. And I went to sleep, and I woke up, found out as soon as I woke up, it was AI. And you had an official DNC website carrying it before they deleted it.
Yeah.
And it was all AI,
right.
Which gave, and we'll play it coming up. You haven't heard it following the bottom of the hour. Just understand it's completely false.
Right.
To be fair, maybe I should, no, I can't because there's just too many things in it that are just too bad. But the AI of with the Epstein, part of the Epstein papers coming out tomorrow, there's an AI of Bill Clinton. I want to let you know that the things they're saying about Epstein. But, of course, we knew that was fake as soon as we saw it. But I thought to myself, wow, Republicans should do all AI stuff and send it out, and the liberals will jump on it and then go, guys, this is fake, this is fake, this is fake. Because they're so reactionary, they'll jump on everything.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app, available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Reading this from ABC News. As President Donald Trump seeks to end the war in Ukraine, what an expert says is a fake audio showing Trump's son voicing support for Russia over Ukraine is circulating online, garnering millions of views and a repost from a Democratic Party social media account. In the audio, a voice that sounds like Donald Trump Jr. can be heard saying, in part, "I can't imagine anyone in their right mind picking Ukraine as an ally when Russia is the other option. Honestly, the U.S. should have been sending weapons to Russia," said the audio, playing over a video supposedly showing a page promoting Donald Trump Jr.'s podcast. Henny Fareed, the chief science officer at Get Real Labs and an expert on synthetic media, told ABC News the recording was likely generated by artificial intelligence. Fareed said the assessment was based on the results from 2 Get Real Lab models trained to detect AI-generated audio. The audio was posted several times to X, where it was shared at least 6,600 times and viewed over 1.8 million times across several posts, some of which have been deleted. The ABC News also found the audio was shared on the messaging platform Telegram in a post by a pro-Russian account with over 200,000 followers. It's possible that's where the post originated, as that post is the oldest one ABC News was able to locate. Another X account that posted and then deleted the recording was Fact Post News, the official rapid response account of the Democratic Party. A spokesperson for the DNC told ABC News they have a clear policy against misinformation. And that they removed the post as soon as it was brought to their attention that the audio was not authentic. A spokesperson for Donald Trump Jr. Said the audio was fake. The audio in question, which was amplified by an official X account of the DNC, along with countless other major anti-Trump accounts, is 100% fake. The spokesperson told ABC News it appears to be an AI-generated deep fake. The video accompanied the audio, which shows what appears to be a page for Donald Trump Jr.'s podcast on the streaming platform Spotify, displays a podcast episode that was not visible on Spotify on Wednesday. A spokesperson for Spotify confirmed that the episode shown in the post was not available on their platform. Here it is. In fact, if you want to, let's play it. Oh, no. Yeah, put it. Not yet here. Okay, I'm ready. Here we go. Let's play it now. All right.
Can't imagine anyone in their right mind picking Ukraine as an ally when Russia is the other option. I mean, just think about it. Massive nuclear power loaded with natural resources everyone needs, literally the biggest country on the planet. And there's Ukraine, which has Chernobyl and some radiation-proof dogs. Yeah. Meanwhile, the Biden administration is like, oh, yeah, this is definitely the ally we need. Let's dump all our money into them. Honestly, if anything, the U.S. should have been sending weapons to Russia.
Completely fake.
Yep.
Never happened. And that's why I said, now I really don't want it, but I mean, could you imagine if the Republicans said, let's create a bunch of AI stuff that's completely false, and the Democrats will be so reactionary they'll carry it all, because that's what's happening.
Yeah.
They're so there it is, play it. They're not going to check anything.
No.
And then you just pound on them afterwards. Another thing I saw that Trump said, that the new book, I think that's out, I forgot what the name of it is, that, criticizes and says Melania hates him and all this other stuff.
Right. Yeah.
He said, I may sue them. They're using sources. I don't think the sources exist. And I think, the thing that he would want to do is be able to, get discovery
right.
on all this stuff. My only thing to him would be, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody pays attention to that stuff anymore.
Right.
They don't
care.
care.
Who's buying it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I just love it because now that everybody knows that AI stuff is out there.
Well, remember when the Biden White House, well, he doesn't want to say anything because then people could use AI to manipulate what he says. What? That was Corinne Jean-Pierre.
Yeah.
Well, no, we don't want to do anything because AI could do something.
Well, AI can do something even if you don't say anything.
Exactly. AI's like, hold my beer. I mean, it's not that hard to do. My gosh, there are children. I'm sure these are kids, probably. You go to YouTube, and there's so many AI videos. Some of them are really cool. There's one where Trump is Thor, and they've got all the characters. Kash Patel is and Melania, and they're all dressed up in this gear, right? And it's really well done. You can tell, anybody can tell, it's AI, but it's really well done. The point is that, my gosh, with what we have available to us right now with this stuff. But here's the difference. You just hit it. People know. The reason they don't react to those things is because they know. They see that. The Donald Trump Jr. story, you and I have an instinct that's built on the experience of what we do, and that is, how wide is this story going? Is it going down one channel? If it's going down one channel, if it seems to be streamlined and everything going back to the same source, and no one, when everybody jumps on it and says, no, this is verified, that's when you know. And early on, that was like, yeah, no, that doesn't sound right. People know. This goes back to the idea that you are the media. You're smart enough to figure it out yourself. AI is only as smart as the smartest person. Period. It's cool technology. You can do some weird things with it, but AI can only do what people tell it to do. And in this case, that's the manipulation. And Democrats, boom, post it. If it were me, see, this is the thing. You're doing damage. You post something like that, you're doing damage as an organization, further damage to, well, any credibility you had left, which I think is gone anyway. You would want to everybody double check. I want this thing verified or it's not going on. We're not going to post something that's not verified. But they don't behave that way. Throw it out there. We'll see what happens. Well, BuzzFeed, on the entire dossier thing, BuzzFeed actually had a little note when they published the dossier thing. We can't verify everything in this dossier, but we decided to publish it anyway. I mean, to that extent, at least they were honest about it to that degree. They don't care about the truth.
And where's BuzzFeed now?
Gone.
I when you said that, it made me think about the Washington Post, and we'll get into talking about that. Where Bezos said yesterday they're going to have, in the opinion section, we're going to be running every day in support of defense of two pillars, personal liberties and free markets.
Yeah.
And you said when we were having the discussion in our pre-show meeting, I think it was you who said, they're trying to make money.
Yeah. No,
they know
this is where they've gotten.
And that was my point with BuzzFeed is the business model didn't work. And part of the business model was we're going to admit we will put out things that we have not verified because that's our job. Well, you couldn't find an audience
that would buy it.
For that business
that
model.
Would buy it. Exactly. Right. By the way, I think I'm going to use the name and open a snack store right next door to all the legal marijuana dispensaries and call it BuzzFeed. Where you buy all the Cheetos and chocolate.
Wow.
Yeah, BuzzFeed.
I like that.
Here, come get your BuzzFood. And I do believe that, I don't know, I can't say Bezos specifically, but we do know what he has said about the Washington Post, and we see the changes that are going on. Joy Reid's out of a job. The business model isn't there. if they could sell that stuff, the radicalism, they wouldn't have a problem with it. They can't sell it.
Right.
We said that the other day about Joy Reid. You can't make it work. Why? Because nobody's buying it. Your liberal audience isn't buying it. That's how you know. It's not just the liabilities that come with things like the ABC News thing with Stephanopoulos. Keep seeing this. Stephanopoulos isn't happy at ABC. I don't care. I don't care. I don't wake up every day going, hey, before we do anything, is Stephanopoulos happy? It's a business model, and you've got, there is the liability thing, but that also is it works to it's on the same page as this entire topic, because your presenters, your hosts, your analysts, whatever you want to call them, we call them liberal activists, they don't care about the liability thing. They're going to say it whether they know it. Well, right here, we'll post the AI video, and now we'll claim we didn't know it was AI. No. That's not the point. You didn't work hard to verify that before you posted it. You've got to be thoughtful in how you do it, or you lose all credibility. Now, Democrats don't really have any credibility as far as we're concerned, so nothing from nothing means nothing and equals nothing. Well, here's the thing, though. In the business world where there's money involved and you have to produce, viewers and readers and things like that and listeners, then you have to have credibility. It has to be viable. And when you're lying and lying and lying and lying and doing things that aren't thoughtful, you're just doing stupid things. Like writing a book about the cover-up of Joe Biden's cognitive decline after you fought anybody that would say that in front of you for years. There's zero credibility. You're not an honest person when you do that. I don't think Jake Tapper's stupid. I think he's a liar.
He's dishonest, yeah.
And this is what people see. Sorry, dude. No credibility.
And he's trying to bring back his credibility, but
right.
the fact is, and I remember, I forgot what year it was. Can you believe it? We've been working together in July 20 years.
20 years.
July 15th will be 20 years working together.
That's wild.
Jeez.
No.
But I remember, what was it, maybe 2010, 2008, where we started saying the internet exists.
Yeah, it was right around there because it was. Was it Hillary?
Could have been Hillary.
It was. I think it was when about the time she was at the State Department.
Yeah, because we said these politicians are talking as if the internet doesn't exist and this can't be fact checked immediately.
Yeah,
and that was really YouTube in its infancy.
Right.
Now everything's on there.
Well, and here's the thing, too. We, in the pre-show meeting mentioning the viability and these CEOs saying, listen, we got to quit doing this. We're going to have to publish things that are real. I don't care if they're biased, but the truth has to be there. I don't care if they are opinionated. It's just whether or not it's true. Because the public, not only it's that they don't buy it, the public sees it differently now because they see that when they're lying, they're doing damage to people. If they're lying about people, that does real damage to people, and we don't accept that as a society. We don't accept it.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. So much to talk about. The Washington Post says they're not going to be the Washington Post anymore. We'll get to that coming up here in just a little bit. We've covered the Jake. We actually have a Jake Tapper interview with Pritzker in Illinois, comparing the Trump administration to Nazi Germany and the Holocaust.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay.
And I will show you here where Jake Tapper doesn't ask any questions.
Yeah. Right.
He doesn't, because I'm sitting there going, what court order? Because everybody's saying is, well, because Trump's ignoring a court order. And I'm like, what court order? I just looked at it now, and there's a bunch of stories saying, what if Trump ignores a court order?
Right.
Biden ignored a court order. He ignored the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
He said he was going to ignore the Supreme Court.
Right.
Was Pritzker saying that because he's ignoring the Supreme Court? Did any of us say that because Biden was ignoring the Supreme Court in that particular issue, he ended up getting defeated afterwards?
Right.
But did any of us say we're becoming Nazi Germany because of it?
Nope.
We'll get to that coming up.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Let me have a sip of my water.
All right. I'm back on the coffee, by the way.
You're back? Really?
Yeah. I think they call this technically against medical advice.
You can't get the monkey off your back, huh?
No, I think we've narrowed it down to the cause of the migraines. It's liberals.
Actually. Oh, I thought it was me.
Yeah. No.
You're going to have to quit the show, Eric.
No, it's people writing stupid books, apparently.
No, not really, because I know that doesn't do it, because it makes our job completely and totally stress-free. With the current makeup of liberals today, I'll even say this. Joy Reid's gone, and there's still plenty of material that you're going to hear in the next couple of seconds that makes our job the easiest job in the world.
It's like when they expand a freeway and everybody thinks, oh, we're going to have all this room on the freeway, but it fills in immediately. The void from Joy Reid was like, no, not even a glitch. Look, I was honored to do comedy on the Hal J Show for almost a full decade. Hal J, morning host at WBAP, our flagship station here in Texas. Honored to do that. Did voices and comedy for years. After our show, actually, I was working a double shift during those years, and there was great laughter in that room in the writing process, because we would write during the commercial breaks, and we would execute live every single day. We did that, and it was so much fun, and we laughed all the time. There was so much laughter. But it pales in comparison, as great as that was. And I love Hal J still today. I love him dearly. And I'll always cherish those years. But I laugh harder now than I've laughed in my life. And it's every day, and it's nonstop. I don't have to think about, because, you're trying to come up with something funny, you think of it, and then you go, ha-ha, or you hear a joke, you're listening to comedy, watching comedy, and you hear something, you kind of have to, right, you have to go reach for the comedy. It just lands in our lap every day, thanks to the liberal movement. It is actually the most fun I've ever had. And, I worked at an alternative station before this, years ago, and I was creative services director. And we could get away with on-air murder. It was the things you could do because you're trying to be edgy. Actually, the name of the station was The Edge, 94.5 in Dallas. And we just had the most fun. And I had said for a long time, it was the most creative process in my career. And then working with Hal J, far more creative than that. And now it is like constant stimulus that you're barraged with. This is what it has to be like doing hallucinogens. Like they talk about mushrooms and everything else. This has to be just like that because it's never ending. It's never ending. And and then added in the mix is 2 cups of reality. You have to put that in the bread that you're making, for today's world, because the reality is very serious. We're actually talking about things that impact people's lives, but the way that the liberals react and handle things today is far more entertaining than I've ever witnessed.
Well, you know why? Because we all find children funny.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
yes.
why. We all find children to be hilarious.
It's the only reason I ever wanted children is I wanted entertainment.
Seinfeld said that. He said, I had no idea that children were going to be so entertaining and hilarious.
My number 8, my youngest grandchild, his father, my son, says to him the other day, hey, I got to go out and talk to Nana, my wife. Little man, without missing a second, looks up at him and says, good luck with that. I could not contain myself. I'm like, I am going outside. I'm not going to be. It was so funny. But yes, and the liberal reaction, these are children. These are children. The Jake Tapper cut we played earlier. What do you think children with a stutter would say when you claim that that President Biden at the time has a stutter? You're being the child.
Yeah, I that's why I had to stop it right there and it didn't go any further. I was talking to my dad yesterday, and it's my dad's had some tough times over the last since Christmas, and he was in the hospital for a while, then in rehab afterwards, just to get his physical strength back, and because of the antibiotics and everything that he's on, you definitely could notice, we weren't sure, the cognitive abilities of my father, whether they were going. I know I've mentioned it to you a couple times off the air. I was like, I'm just not sure if I'll ever be able to talk to a 100% cognitive, father anymore, which I'm so used to.
Right.
And then yesterday, and again, he's not good with drugs. He just isn't. Right. Any type of painkillers, any
his body's
antibiotics.
Working hard. He's going to be 99 soon.
99 April 11th. He'll be 99 April 11th.
Yeah.
But it was great yesterday when I talked to him, because normally I've only been talking to him for, maybe 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. Yesterday it was 45 minutes and he was back to and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
All right, it's the drug, because you're wondering, what is it? It's like, it's the drugs. It's his body fighting all this.
Right.
Now he's back to, more healthy and doing rehab and physical stuff. And so is mine. So we were talking, and he said to me, so no plans on retiring?
Yeah.
And I said, no. And I said, Dad, I look at my life and I said, because people ask me, don't you want to retire and travel and, to be doing the show that you're doing, every day has got to be hard, and it's overnights and all that. And, you've earned retirement. My father said, no thought of it. And I said, Dad, something? I was able to look right into the, as I call it, the mouth of Mount St. Helens, from like 3,000 feet into the air.
Yeah.
I walked the mud flows of Mount St. Helens. I got to ride in with the Thunderbirds, the Air Force Thunderbirds, and did everything they did in the show, including 9Gs. I actually won a bunch of races in an international Hobie Cat sailing race.
Yeah.
With who was considered the best sailor in the world at that time. And
that's hard work if you've never done it.
Yeah, and that was an amazing experience, and I got to race high-speed go-karts, and because of radio and the legend cars at Texas Motor Speedway, where I flipped 5 times in front of 20,000 people on the small track, and survived that. And I said, so when people say, "Don't you want to go to Europe?" I go, "No, don't care."
Right.
And I said, I've seen and done so much that all I want to do is sit in front of the microphone. I said, for one reason and one reason only. Because there gets to a point, because it's work to get here. Yeah. I don't want to make it sound like, But once you've done it, I was telling my dad, I said, I think I'm probably 10. I haven't done the shows, but probably I'm at 10,000 radio shows in my life. It's a lot, heck of a lot of radio shows. I know I'm over 40,000 hours. I said, I've always said that a job is not who you are, it's what you do. But when you do this and you do it so long, it does become part of who you are. I've had to make the exception for this because it does become who you are, because it is who you are.
Well, you have to be, in my opinion, and I think you share this, you have to be who you are if you're going to present it in a thoughtful way. I think so.
Yeah. The only thing I get is from most people is you're a lot quieter in real life. And it's like, well, yeah, because I do this 25 hours a week, and you would see more of it. If I wasn't doing this, you would definitely see more of it.
Right.
But the fact is, it's like, well, no, you're resting and doing your show prep, and so you're a lot quieter. And at parties, if it's long trusted friends, it's if it's people I don't know, I'm probably a little bit shy or reserved.
Right.
I wouldn't say shy.
Right.
But reserved at that moment because, I'm involved in this all the time. But I'm doing it, as I told Dad yesterday, I said, I'm doing it for one reason and one reason only. I've never had so much fun in my life. And every year that I stay in it, I'm having more fun. It's not like I'm counting down the days, like I've set a date, well, I'm going to retire here and then I'm going to be out of this. Because I know. You and I talk about people that get out of the business and they're bitter afterwards.
Yeah.
I won't be bitter at all. When I'm done, I'll be like, I can't believe I was in it this. I can't believe that so many idiot managements actually trusted me.
Yeah, right.
Maybe I should rephrase that.
Well.
But I can't believe it's like, how foolish are you?
Well,
you're going to let me? So you're telling me, Gary McNamara, go on the air and say whatever the hell you want, and we'll pay you for it. Really?
Yeah.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
You're joking. Come on, you're joking. Nobody's that stupid to do that.
You said the management? I knew you guys were stupid, but I didn't know this.
Well, I figured I'd be like George Costanza, when he did the opposite and went and told George Steinbrenner, said, you've destroyed it. He did the opposite of everything that every bit of his instincts. But no, the reality is I'm only doing this for one reason. I've never had so much fun in my life. I wake up to come in to work overnights, and I can't wait to get in here. And I know you're the same way. We've had talks about that off the air, but it's that simple.
Well, like yesterday, I had to do a bunch of business transactions, and it was like, that seemed like work. My wife and I go RVing, and that is actually physical work, and we love it. We have a great time. I love fishing. I love doing all these things. But it really is, in my mind, it's like, okay, get through this and get back to doing what I mean, this has become like a hobby. I go back to last play at Shea with Billy Joel, right? He says, there I am, Shea Stadium. And you got tens of thousands of your fans, and they're singing your songs along with you for a couple of hours at the top of their lungs, and you're having the best time. And then the show ends, you get off the stage, you go down this ramp, you get in a van, and then, because it was at Shea, the van drives him to his house, right? And he says, and then, within a couple hours, I'm just a schlub sitting in front of my TV watching infomercials late at night. That to me is what I feel like at this moment retirement would be. Like, wait a minute,
right.
What just happened?
Well,
You went from this big, all these, great, this great, exciting event, and then you're sitting in front of the TV,
Well, the difference is if Billy Joel had to go walk off stage and then create 4 new songs for the next day.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be sitting there saying, I'm just watching TV at the end of the day.
Right.
Because when the show's over, we just, we never stop it. It's a drug. It is, there's an addiction to it. I always thought when I was, in fact, I got into talk radio and I was doing music radio, a morning show, and I was trying to do stand-up comedy at the same time. This is so much better than stand-up comedy could ever be because you're constantly writing new material, which is some of it's in your head. I don't write stuff down. It's just in my head. You're analyzing and it sticks in the head, but you're not just analyzing and doing jokes or doing comedic stuff, as we do once in a while, but you're analyzing what's going on and it's so absurd that as you're actually making serious points, it's humorous. As we have examples coming up here in the next couple of seconds, by the way, with some of the audio from yesterday.
Yeah.
And so that's it. It is, and I know all these issues are serious, but you can articulate it much better, and it's much more palatable, I believe, to listen to when people say, God, they're having fun. Man, this is funny. Oh, man, those, these people are nuts.
Yeah,
because you're analyzing it that way. But
right.
Some stand-up comedians do the same thing. I mean, you look at a Bill Burr. Norm Macdonald did that all the time.
Well, if you're not loving it in that moment, like there would be times, and what I did in stand-up comedy was just hosting. So I wasn't on the marquee. People weren't paying to see me. So there's a difference. When they pay to see you, it's like, you better be funny. And so I didn't feel that kind of pressure. But when in the times that I was hosting, there were times I didn't feel creative in being there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've been there.
There hasn't been one in this long stretch of things that we've been doing over the last 20 years together here on this show especially. But really my radio career has been, very inspiring. But there is nothing more inspiring than reality and what's going on right now in the world. And there's not a moment when I come in and go, well, I don't feel like doing this. No, I mean, there's times when I'm sick. And when I'm sick, I'm actually angry that I'm sick.
I know.
That I can't do it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, for me, talk radio was work for a long time.
Yeah.
It was a lot. It's a situation that you're in.
Very tedious.
I mean, working with you and what we've developed 20 years now come this July changed everything.
Yeah.
It changed because it was work. And I know conservative talk show hosts that were in it for 20, 30 years and quit and just said, I couldn't stand it anymore. I'm so glad I'm not at that point. I'll never be at that point again. I have the choice. If I get to that point, I'm done.
Right.
But I don't believe I'll ever get to that point. Again, you get to a certain level. It's like, no, this is what I want to do. It's working. It's worked for a significant period of time. Keep going with it. But it's so much fun. We want to do this once in a while just so any of our listeners can get behind the scenes and say, okay, what do these guys really think? This is what we really think.
Yeah,
this is what we talk about. But man, we're going to have fun today. And then most of the time, it's when we walk out after a show.
Right.
And it's been a lot the last couple of years. We'll walk out going,
right.
Oh my God, I can't wait to get back tomorrow as
right.
we're walking out to the vehicles.
Right.
And that's why we started saying we don't do individual shows anime. It's just a continuation.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
We take a quick. What does it be? A 19-hour coffee break. And
exactly.
We'll, back again.
We'll be right back. 19 hours later.
But more fun stuff coming up as we analyze. Does the left have any clue?
Yeah.
866-98-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Surviving and thriving as an owner-operator has just as much to do with managing costs as it does with generating revenue. Understanding basic principles of operating costs can save you thousands of dollars a year. Costs are not the same each month. If 9,600 miles are driven one month and 10,000 miles the next, two different sets of costs apply for each month. For example, if your tractor payment is $1,850 per month and you drive 9,600 miles in the month, your tractor payment is costing you 19.3 cents per mile. Drive 10,000 miles, though, and that same payment will cost you 18.5 cents per mile. This is one of your major fixed costs while paying off a truck loan. The difference in this example is only a fraction of a cent, which may seem like small change, but it ultimately amounts to $960 more annually on the bottom line. Because though fixed costs do not go down over time, you can reduce your cost per mile with more paid miles. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Friday Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning. All right, coming up on the bottom of the hour, the insanity of the left. They're just going back to the same old template.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like nothing's changed. It's just it's amazing right now what's going on. We'll hear from Governor Pritzker of Illinois comparing the Trump administration to Nazi Germany. Mm-hmm. But as you notice in all these things, they can't make their points. There are no specific points for their allegations.
Right.
And that's why we love this job.
Listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, so we've always said that the did I say Eric Harley and Gary McNamara?
I don't know.
Did I do all the introduction?
I don't listen to the show, so
I don't want to be stressed out if I don't, I'm kidding.
Properly.
I'm kidding. He's Eric Harley. I'm Gary McNamara.
Yeah.
All right. We always talk about the fact that, and we did it when Joy Reid was let go, and we went no, because the best thing ever is liberals talking. We're going to make our point here, right here. Here's Governor Pritzker of Illinois. And this is Jake Tapper. Again, not asking any questions whatsoever. It's the original sin, Jake Tapper.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh, we're going to have fun with this. Was it Jake Tapper or the other guy, Anderson Cooper?
That did what?
That talked about, remember the riots in 2020? Or it was before 2020?
It was in Ferguson. It was Jake Tapper.
Was that Jake Tapper?
These police are armed.
Yes. These riot police are armed.
Wait a minute.
They have riot gear.
Well, wait a minute. Of course, that's the same guy that just wrote a book about the cover-up of the cognitive decline.
That was Jake Tapper then. I don't know.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember if it was
Jake
Anderson
Tapper.
Cooper. Or
Yeah,
okay.
no, it was Jake Tapper.
These riot police, they're armed.
Yeah.
Oh, have you noticed that?
Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed now the reporters play stupid?
Yeah.
Yeah. And because that was part of that's part of playing stupid. The police, the riot police, these police, like you're shocked, like you've just learned something.
Right.
That riot police are armed.
Right.
And remember, they have armored vehicles to go into the middle of the riot.
Right. Like, the same kind of armored vehicles you would use in war.
Yeah.
They're wearing helmets. Are you a moron?
Like you've just learned about riot police.
Exactly.
Like I'm sitting in my CNN bubble. I have no idea that these things exist.
It's the same side that goes after Trump or somebody on the right for cursing. Well, we never. And then an hour later, you hear the head of the DNC or somebody going, Trump is a blankety blankety mother blankety blank and blankety blankety blank 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 blank. It's like, of course, you guys have heard this before. You invented it.
All right, so here we go. We start with Pritzker comparing the Trump administration to Nazi Germany and the Holocaust, which again, these are like golden oldies.
Yeah.
Let's play the oldies.
A very stark warning that you're delivering there. Obviously invoking the Holocaust, obviously invoking, a horrible, horrible thing that took the lives of ancestors of yours and ancestors of mine is evocative. I would also think it might be controversial. People might think, how can you possibly compare what happened in Germany in World War II to what's going on here in the United States?
Well, we're talking about the death of a constitutional republic. That's what happened in Germany in 1933, 1934. And we're seeing today that you've got an administration in Washington that's ignoring court orders.
Okay. Now, right there, I looked at, I went to Google and said, what Trump, because if, we would have talked about that if there was a court order.
Right.
I start going through Google, Washington Post. What might happen if Trump were to defy a court order? That was just 44 minutes ago. Constitutional accountability. If this is the website Constitutional Accountability. If Trump was defying a court order, would it trigger a constitutional crisis? Democratic senators pressed Trump nominees on whether officials can ever ignore a court order.
Yeah.
Trump, let me see, what courts can do. Brennan Center for Justice, what courts can do if the Trump administration defies a court order. NPR, what happens if Trump starts ignoring court rulings. Trump defying a court order would trigger a constitutional crisis. What consequences would Trump face if he simply ignores constitutional orders? So they're the ones that are making and setting up the premise.
Right. Yeah. And it's kind of like the Russian hoax thing, where they create the Russian hoax and then look at it and go, look, somebody's investigating the Russian hoax to try and make it reality. They create something and then acknowledge what they created as reality. Well, it doesn't work that way. They have to make it up as they go along. They have to lie for their agenda.
Right. So you know what they're using. Look at it. This is what they're using. Okay, here we go.
Right.
Because it's important that because one of Trump's nominees say sometimes there could be an exception to ignore an order. So what was actually said? The President Trump's nominee to be Solicitor General told the Senate Judiciary Committee Wednesday that presidents might rightfully defy court orders in extreme cases. Generally, if there's a direct court order that binds a federal or state official, they should follow it, said D. John Sauer at his confirmation hearing in response to questioning by Senator Dick Durbin, the committee's ranking member. Now, this article came out yesterday, all right? When Durbin questioned whether Sauer could envision an exemption, he replied by citing two Supreme Court decisions that were eventually overturned. The 1944 decision that upheld the constitutionality of the internment of Japanese civilians during World War II, and the 1857 decision that upheld slavery. I suppose you could imagine hypotheticals in extreme cases like that, he said. Wow. And so this is where they jump on it. Again, when you get into the minutia, which in anything legal you have to, you destroy idiots like Governor Pritzker of Illinois.
Right.
But let's continue with it, all right? So that was number one. Let's see what else he has. Here we go.
All right.
Literally ignoring when a judge says you can't do this. They're going ahead and doing it anyway. The question is, where does that stop? The courts don't have the ability to enforce their orders, and the president is supposed to obey them, but is not.
Now, what would the question from Jake Tapper should be? What specifically is the president doing?
Right.
Never ask the question.
Right.
Just lets him ramble. We continue then. Here we go.
So this is just one piece of a very long story that's developed over the last 6 weeks of the ignorance of constitutional norms and indeed disobeying the Constitution, announcing that we're going to do away with birthright citizenship. That's been established. Well, it's in the Constitution, for goodness sakes.
No, it has not been established.
No, it hasn't.
And as the Trump administration has made it clear, Trump is doing a ton of these things to get him to the courts because he thinks he'll win.
Right.
He views that, as many people do, that decision is a wrong decision. But even if you don't believe it's a wrong decision, to challenge that, is that at all heading towards Nazi Germany?
No.
No,
it's actually part of the process.
Right. It's part of the process. I mean, these people, they're nuts. Illinois, you did it again.
Yeah.
Chicago, you did it again. You put in an idiot mayor and you put in another idiot governor.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, keep it up. Good job.
And I don't mean our great listeners this does not apply to our great listeners at WLS or WROK.
No. We know you guys
Yes,
are
we know you
fighting
guys.
the good fight. We know that.
Right. We know
Yeah.
that. We know. We know it's tough.
Yeah.
Believe me, I know.
Yeah.
I'm a former New Yorker.
Well, the Chicago Republican Party, yes, there is one,
Yes.
listens to the show, and we greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, they communicate with us.
Yes, great job of, again, fighting the good fight.
Yep. So let's continue now, okay? Since you can blow him out of the water there, and that's the whole point, he's comparing the Trump administration to Nazi Germany and the Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
He has no point. None. Zero. Right. And was Pritzker saying the same thing when Joe Biden, after the Supreme Court decision on student loans, said he wasn't going to follow it? He's going to still try to do whatever he could to bypass what they said. Was Pritzker saying the same thing about that? Was any Democrat saying the same thing about that?
Nope.
Nope, they weren't. All right, now let's get to CNN. And this is Scott Jennings talking to Jeff Jarvis, professor at Stony Brook University. My God, I can't imagine being in this guy's class.
Yeah.
Here we go. All right, here we go again.
All right.
Because they're going back to the golden oldies, that Trump is like Hitler, that this is a totalitarian fascist coup that's going on. Here we go. All right.
Well, I'm interested in a couple of the comments you made. You said it was destroying the newspaper because they failed to endorse Kamala Harris. I mean, what does that say about a newspaper that you have to endorse a certain political party and for it?
That's not the way it happened. What happened was that the editorial board had an editorial done and ready, and that was the process.
Right.
And then suddenly to say, oh, now we're not going to endorse. They've endorsed other things since. It was the process by which it went under there. And there's other things going on. Constantly in the paper, I now use the hashtags Broken Times and Broken Post. The headlines in both papers, I think, are constantly off, constantly trying to soft pedal what's going on. Yeah. You're not going to like what I'm saying next, but we are in the middle of a totalitarian fascist coup in this country. Yes. And when we don't call it that, when we soft pedal it, when we don't have a real discussion about it. At least here, I could say those words, we can have that discussion, but you will not see those words in the New York Times or the Washington Post.
So, Jeff, if we were being honest, there should be a breaking news banner on CNN and MSNBC all day long. Yes. We are in dictatorship right now.
That's Touré. I haven't seen him in a while.
Oh, yeah.
He had an interesting career. How many times did he have to apologize for the racist crap he said on MSNBC? I just went back and looked at his history. Oh, Touré's back again.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sexual harassment that he had to apologize for.
Right.
But the other guy, Jeff Jarvis, Stony Brook professor, we are in the middle of a totalitarian fascist coup. How?
Based on what?
How?
Because you say so?
Do we have to bring out the Stephen Miller audio cut from last week?
Right. Civic lesson.
With the sock puppet explaining to the idiots in the media how the Constitution actually runs.
Yeah, here's a civics lesson for you.
This Jeff Jarvis at Stony Brook University.
Yeah, he's teaching people.
Yeah, he's teaching. Think about that. He's teaching people what's the totalitarian fascist coup.
Right.
You lost.
Based on what?
You lost a legitimate election.
Right.
You lost an election.
Liars like this are teaching people.
Yeah.
You teach lies.
Yep.
You're spreading lies. You're not teaching anything. Full-on indoctrination. Go study engineering. Go tell your kids to go get something meaningful and avoid idiots like this, liars like this.
Now, the beautiful thing is how angry he is at the New York Times and the Post.
Yeah.
And that's the best part.
Right.
He's just, you can see, you know who he reminds me of with his the fury that he has? What's his name? Popovich.
Oh, yeah.
And we hope he's okay. So he's not going to coach the rest of the year.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, on his political stuff, he's nuts.
Yeah.
But he reminds you. You can see that where his face is just so angry and furious.
Oh yeah.
The face shows an Olbermann insanity.
Right. And the anger overrides the brain. It controls everything.
Yep. 866-90-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. I mean, on everything, the left is just losing it. Here's Scott Jennings on, because they got into the whole thing on the two-state solution. Now, I disagree with him. There was never a chance at a two-state solution because no side wanted it.
Right. Yeah.
But here's what he had to say yesterday on this.
You're getting at the idea that there should be a two-state solution. I was walking into the studio tonight and saw that the Empire State Building was orange in honor of the Bibas family. I think the idea of a two-state solution died with the Bibas family and the disgusting carnival-like display that was put on by Hamas and the Palestinian people when they were handing those remains back. There cannot be a two-state solution for people who celebrate the death of those little
We're
babies.
not talking. You're trying to get us off the topic.
It's becoming like The View. I will say
Well, it
this.
is.
You and I noticed that they weren't allowing him to talk.
Yeah. No, they're
would
doing
talk over
that
him.
more and more.
Right.
You know, they jump in and it ends up sounding like you just walked into the adoption center at Petco.
Well, as we said, the two-state solution is dumb. I mean, it's not even worth talking about because neither side wants it.
Yeah.
Why are you talking about something that is it's a negotiating point that neither side wants?
Right.
And it's clear neither side wants it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, because, number one, there can't be a two-state solution with Hamas in there, and Hamas has said so. And so it's a dumb argument to have.
Yeah.
It's all you
it
have
is.
left, so they use it. But,
Yeah.
man, just nuts. All right.
More nuts and crazy things coming up.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
As always. This is my favorite, though. From National Review, Rich Lowry. Rachel Maddow strikes a blow against institutional racism at MSNBC.
There's so much to unpack just from that.
I know. She knows the real reason Joy Reid was fired. No one can accuse Rachel Maddow of inconsistency. She has turned MSNBC's thinking against MSNBC.
Well, no one can accuse her of inconsistency. I know a few people who can.
It was inevitable that I think he means with the network. Right. It was inevitable that the network devoted to accusing people of racism would accuse itself of racism for canceling the show of an African-American host famous for accusing people of racism. Mm-hmm. I want to read that again. Mm-hmm. It was inevitable that the network devoted to accusing people of racism would accuse itself of racism for canceling the show of an African-American host famous for accusing people of racism.
By the way, a new primetime show on MSNBC, Why Are We So Racist? Yeah, that's so funny.
After all the talk on MSNBC's air of systemic racism and white privilege, it turns out that the call has been coming from inside the house. Well, what have we always said? If you've been a long-time listener of the show, we do have a listener, though, that every time we say, if you've been a long-time listener of the show, you remember when we said this, and he will post, you guys right again. He always does that. I like that.
And
but,
it happens more and more these days.
And we said this 2 points that we've made, and if you're even a short time listener, because we said it yesterday, we do have institutionalized and systemic racism in the United States, and it's in the Democratic Party. It's because of identity politics. They judge people by groups and not individuals. Racism and misogyny are institutionalized and systemic inside the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Really on the federal level. And if you want to look at the latest example of misogyny, you can look at the Maine legislature, which is Democrat-run, with the censuring of that official who simply pointed out that a man won a woman's sporting event, and that was pole vaulting. So they're doing everything they can to keep her quiet and make it so she can't vote. And it's pretty good because that's blowing up in Maine right now. I was watching one thing. We'll have some of the audio of this reporter going around. No Democrat would answer a question after that.
Yeah.
Couldn't get them to answer.
Right.
Are you for this? I'm busy. Are you for men and women's sports?
Right.
You know, and nobody will answer. They all walk away because they know they can't win it. That's the problem that Democrats have. But here in this case, we said, if you practice identity politics where you judge people by groups and not individuals, and you practice, your narrative is, your ideology is the victim-oppressor relationship. You're taking groups then that are victims, and eventually those groups or those entities that are victims or are the heroes that are supporting the victims, they eventually become the oppressor.
Right.
And that's, I think, what Rich Lowry is saying here. We say it in a different way. He says it in a great way.
Yeah.
But I just love it. It was inevitable that the network devoted to accusing people of racism would accuse itself of racism for canceling a show of an African-American host famous for accusing people of racism.
Yeah.
After all the talk on MSNBC's air of systemic racism and white privilege, it turns out that the call has been coming from inside the House. The network, of course, canceled Joy Reid's show, as well as discontinuing Alex Wagner's role in hosting Rachel Maddow's Hour when Rachel is not there, which is most of the time. Also canceled Katie Fang, Jonathan Capehart, and Amen Malyadin, I guess is the name. I'm not familiar with that person. Maddow was shaken as she let her listeners know during a rare occasion that when she was hosting her own show. Personally, I think it's a bad mistake to let her out the door, Maddow said of Reid on Monday night, insisting that she's learned immensely from her colleague whose program was consistently lunatic and ill-informed. It was also unnerving, Maddow continued, to see on a network where we've got two non-white hosts in prime time. Both of our non-white hosts in prime time are losing their shows, as is Katie Fang on the weekend. And this feels worse than bad no matter who replaces him. This feels indefensible. I do not defend it. And so Maddow has sniffed out the subtle racism affecting the network that has employed her in a high-profile role for years. MSNBC's new president, Rebecca Cutler, has had a long career in TV during which she has kept her white hood hidden. But so insidious is the subtle hand of institutional racism that she apparently has fallen prey to it. I just love that. It gets worse when you think about it. Morning Joe, hosted by Joe Scarborough and Mika, airs for 4 hours every day, while Nicole Wallace holds down 2 hours every weekday afternoon. Why should 3 white people, one of them a white male from the South, with a firm gender identity, although a fluid political identity.
That's brilliant. Oh, my gosh, that's great.
Controls 6 hours of programming every day. It's practically settler colonialism. Maddow might have considered, too, that she herself is white. Meaning that for years before she began hosting her show only on Mondays, making the way for Alex Wagner on the other weeknights, she had monopolized the 9 p.m. hour of MSNBC for white people. She might further consider that when she had agreed to briefly return to 5-day-a-week hosting for Trump's first 100 days, she supplanted an Asian American woman. Perhaps Maddow would say in her defense that this is what her bosses wanted, but does that really lessen her complicity? If she figured that it was only for 100 days, she should have thought more about how long non-white women have waited to get any representation during the 9 p.m. hour on MSNBC.
Mm-hmm.
God, this is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
This is just greatness. One wonders, given the thoughtless exercise of privilege, whether Maddow is a true ally no matter what she might say on the air. She is saying she works for a racist organization, yet she continues to work there. And she is the privileged one who does not get fired.
Well,
God, I love it.
yeah.
Throw it back in their face. And this is, again, this is the circular firing squad that we're seeing. And whether it's that professor from Stony Brook University, that Professor Jarvis talking about, furious at the New York Times now and the Washington Post, want nothing to do with them anymore. This is a authoritarian fascist regime, and they should be promoting that every single day. I love what's going on. I absolutely love. This is absolutely fantastic. They are just falling apart.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's and the whole thing with Rachel Maddow, there's a great deal of virtue signaling there, right? But it's also the inevitable. When you call everybody a racist, eventually you're going to get back to pointing the finger at the company you actually work for. Yeah. Right? You have to. When you're so obsessed with racism, everybody's a racist.
Yeah. Everybody's a racist.
It's how they think. This is who they are.
So now Rachel Maddow works. That's what she's saying.
Yeah.
For an organization that supports white privilege.
Yep.
By the way, this is the Democrat standard.
We'll put it this way. She makes money off of them.
Yes.
She profits personally.
She profits from her white privilege.
How dare she?
Even though this is so great, it's not as great as the Obama judge in that defamation lawsuit saying that, look, Rachel Maddow was, she was, of course she was defaming someone, but it's not defamation when everybody knows. I almost said defecation.
Well,
it's not.
Stuff happens.
It's not defamation when everyone knows you're lying.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the best.
Right.
Nobody takes Rachel Maddow serious. That was the best thing ever, that judge. And we did it. We actually read part of that judge's ruling earlier this week. And this goes back a few years ago when there was a defamation lawsuit against her. And they said, no, come on. Nobody believes her. Nobody believes she's telling the truth in any way.
Right.
Only you have to establish that you're telling the truth. So, as we got from that, if you defame all the time, you have...
Yeah, exactly.
Then everybody knows you're defaming. They know you're not telling the truth. They know you become like the Babylon Bee at that point.
Right. Well, the same thing. Exactly. You can apply it here. Well, they call everybody a racist. Of course, they're going to get around to calling themselves a racist.
Oh, God, just beautiful. Man, oh, man.
I mean, eventually you run out of people to point your finger at. You got to point your finger at yourself or the company you work for. When that's how you think. Their brain doesn't think any other way. This is how they're obsessed with it. Just obsessed with it.
Well,
to that point.
Well, she's obsessed with race, but apparently does not understand
that she's white
or won't acknowledge her white privilege.
Exactly. Yep.
Wow. We warn Rachel, if you're listening. I know you're not, but if you're listening,
right.
We told you this was going to happen.
Yeah.
We told you.
There was no way it wasn't going to get to this point.
We explained it to all liberals a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand they're eventually going to come after you?
Mm-hmm.
And expect now. I mean, did Olbermann? Oh, I got to see if Olbermann has said that Rachel Maddow is privileged.
Oh.
Ooh, I got to check this out. Olbermann, because I know he was livid over everything that happened.
Right.
But now, when you think about it, now the accusation is MSNBC is racist.
Yeah. Look, don't believe us. Believe the very credible Rachel Maddow.
Oh, my gosh, he did.
Hmm.
Our free press, Maddow included, surrendered in like a month. Olbermann 3 hours ago.
Wow. There you go.
Oh my! This is the best ever.
Yeah. No, it is.
Now I got to tell you, this is better than sports.
Oh yeah.
This is better than sports.
Yeah.
You know, sports can be your drug. This is better than drugs.
Yes.
Alcohol would not give me this much enjoyment.
No. Look, I don't do mushrooms. I got to think they're not as fun as this.
I'm still asking this question when I see those drinks. I'll even see them. You see them.
The microdose drinks now that they're making.
That they say mushroom. Is it psilocybin? What's the mushrooms that they have in it? I don't
know.
And the one thing is, if you're trying not to be an alcoholic, take the soda with pot in it. It's like,
yeah. Hey, look, if you don't want to be a drunk,
it's being promoted that way.
You can be tripping your backside off in just a matter of seconds. I by the way, that scares me because, I look at a can, when the hard sodas started coming out, don't call it a hard soda. Hard soda, to me, sounds like something that's going to give me indigestion later. I grab a grape hard soda and realize this is not a knee-high.
Okay, this is from his. I don't want to play it yet. He's actually, God, he looks horrible. But you see his eyes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking here at just the photo of his.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy
of his statement.
Yeah.
He said, "Our free press, Maddow included, surrendered in like a month."
Yeah, yeah.
The worst, Maddow is not telling the truth about Joy Reid's firing, shilling for bosses. Now, see? Rachel, we told you.
Yep.
Now you're the oppressor.
You're the oppressor.
I love it.
Red Eye Radio's principles coming into full effect as we told you they would.
We'll listen to this in the commercial break, see if he doesn't curse, if we can play it.
All right.
From him. So,
yeah.
866-98 Red Eye.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. This is an exciting moment for us here. We haven't played anything from Keith Olbermann in the longest time.
No, we haven't.
And there was no cursing in this. And
what's wrong with Keith Olbermann?
And this is where he goes after Rachel Maddow.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. All right, it's just a short clip. It's not long. Here we go. All right.
But worst of all, Rachel Maddow did not tell the truth about the firing of Joy Reid and 4 other anchors of color at MSNBC. It's shameful. I am ashamed of her. She is covering for her corporate bosses.
That's the best ever.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best.
Okay.
I'm getting so much enjoyment on this.
Yeah.
But there was no... Hey, liberals, you should have listened to the guys at Red Eye.
We told you it was coming.
We told you this was coming.
At some point, you have to be, because of what you've been doing, separating individuals in more and more subgroups every day, which then by design, you have more and more oppressors, which means eventually you're going to be an oppressor because you don't belong to the new subgroup. Right. And now, Rachel Maddow, the oppressor.
And as we said, with to the Democratic Party, we warned them a long time ago. This is like politics 101. The whole purpose of political parties is to unite people around issues and find the most popular issues, and in the United States, promote freedom, liberty, individuality, which they didn't. But the entire purpose of liberalism through the Democratic Party has become to divide people. It's all they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Victim, oppressor, identity politics, judging people by groups and not individuals. Your group's an oppressor. Your group's a victim. All of a sudden, or this entity is an oppressor and this entity is a victim. Well, now MSNBC, which has been the beacon, the beacon of liberalism and caring, is now racist, and Rachel Maddow is now a white privileged supporter of racism because she is bowing down. My God, this has racism, classism. It's got everything. She is bowing down to the billionaire investors. All right, I had to throw billionaire in there just for the heck of it. I have no idea whether it's true or not. The billionaire investors of MSNBC.
Well, and Keith Olbermann, being, a white guy, is angry that she's calling out MSNBC for being racist, which makes him, of course, by liberal standards, a racist.
And Keith Olbermann, who believes men should play women's sports, is attacking a white woman of privilege.
Right.
I don't even know what that meant, but it sounded good.
Yeah.
Every night on the Red Eye Radio app, available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. Now, look, in all seriousness, when we get the biggest kick out of it because it's pure insanity. But when we look at our country right now, that's what we do is we analyze and we give our opinion on things, and it's the opinions come from observing politics, both of us, for over 40 years. Even when we weren't in this business, we were still observing what was going on. Right, really for me, over a half century of studying politics. Even when I wasn't doing talk radio, I was still seeing, okay, how does it work? How does economics work? Whatever. I look at the Republican Party. I look at Trump, and I'd said this way back. I said it'd be the third time I vote for Trump. This time I'm voting for him because the weaponization of government has to stop.
Right.
You and I are both constitutionalists. Everybody knows. And I think it does give us some extra credibility. Everyone knows that if we disagree with anyone, we don't care what the political idolatry is towards that person. We don't care what the reaction we get. If we believe a person is wrong, we'll tell you a person is wrong.
Right.
So so I look at like the Republican Party, and when you have the analysis that the Republican Party is a mess, well, I guess everything is relative. Right?
Yeah,
everything is relative. But if you look at the Republican Party right now, in order to tear apart what has been going on in this country right now, the weaponization of government, the absolute immorality of putting the financial burden on future generations. And by the way, the Republicans should talk about that more.
Right.
They should talk about, because you have the other side saying people are losing their jobs. You're putting debt on your children and grandchildren. How dare you? The immorality of that, I want it to stop.
Yep.
And if somebody go, well, you didn't do it in your first budget, and I was wrong, and I'm going to correct it now.
Right.
And when you've got somebody like Trump and the people that he have put in, I'm not going to agree with everything, but I agree with the fact that they truly wish to save the country.
Yeah.
They truly wish for this country to be a success. I'll say this about Trump. I disagree with him, but our goal, I disagree with him on a few things. I disagree with him on a few things, but our goal is the same.
Right.
Our goal is exactly the same. I can't say that with the Democrats at all. But when you look at it, what the Republican Party has done is they've taken a number of issues that are extremely important to people. Now, they call it 80-20. Not all of it is 80-20. Really, the 80-20 part would probably be men playing, women's sports and getting rid of illegal immigrant criminals, things like that. But the fact is, if you look at the latest polls, all the things where Trump stands, almost everything is over 60%. That's landslide numbers.
Yeah.
And the things that they believe in are about promoting and caring about Americans, are actually about, what the Trump administration is doing. There's been a few articles written on it that we've talked about. They want everything challenged. I think it was Mick Mulvaney saying it yesterday, who served in the last Trump administration. He said, wow. He goes, everything they're doing is so well written legally, and they're going to the courts because they know the courts, they want final rulings on these things. They want everything to get to the Supreme Court because they know that when they talk about the executive branch power that they believe they have, that they actually have it in the Constitution, and they want it codified with the Supreme Court ruling, which, again, is what you should be doing. But what they're trying to do is unite people. The reason that you have had so many minorities come with to the Republican Party, young people now looking at the Republican Party, is because they're uniting them on the issues.
Yeah.
And we had fun with it during the campaign when Kamala Harris embraced the wall, border security, all the things, the 3 or 4 things that Trump, and we said, wow, Trump's actually now uniting the Democratic Party. He's the great uniter. I mean, we had fun with it. But seriously, when you look at a political party, that's supposed to be your goal. In a political party in the United States, I believe, should promote the Constitution, explain the Constitution, explain why it's better than other forms of government, and then find those issues that all fit in there, promote it to the American people, get wide approval, and go and do it. And that's what they've done. We have been criticizing the Democratic Party for years.
Yeah.
I think on identity politics, I've been talking about it since '89. That identity politics and, judging people by groups, because I think the modern identity politics movement, this is my analysis of it. Maybe people think it differently. It's based on my experiences of becoming a talk show host in '89, when modern talk radio really came into being, because Rush went syndicated in '88. I became a talk show host in '89, and then it boomed at that point. And you had a heck of a lot of conservative black talk show hosts that were out there, and they were just eviscerated. And you can look and you can say the same thing happened with Clarence Thomas. And to me, that was the beginning of the identity politics, which is really interesting because the identity politics was based on the fact that all blacks must think alike. And if you don't think alike, who said it? The pastor in Atlanta the other day.
Yeah.
Just throwing out racial tropes at, any black that voted for Trump.
Right.
Because blacks are supposed to think alike.
Yeah.
All blacks think alike, or you're not truly black. How racist is that?
Right.
And the Republican Party is saying, no, we're bringing individuals together. We don't care about your skin color. We don't care about anything. All we care about is that unite people on all these issues that will help promote and give you a better life and promote freedom and liberty.
The ideas we believe in, implemented as policy, we believe benefit everybody, and we want them to benefit everybody, period.
Right. Now, we may disagree with how they wish to go, and promote that in a particular way.
Yeah.
Or if somebody says something off the cuff, we'll criticize them for saying it doesn't help with the whole unity thing that you're doing there. But for the most part, that is the generalized goal of the Republican Party.
Right.
The Democratic Party is all identity politics and misogyny right now.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yep.
And that's why it's turning people against each other, because it's identity politics, which is racism, and it's the misogyny of the radical transgender movement. Yep. They can't defend it. They can't defend the misogyny of the radical transgender movement. They'll try to defend the identity politics because they're still trying to do it. And they still try to defend the victim-oppressor relationship, and it's in a variety of different ways. You know, Bernie Sanders, as we said back in 2016, remember, the billionaires are the reason that you can't pay for your college.
Right.
Well, of course, that's ridiculous.
That's stupid.
Billionaires have got not one thing to do with whether you succeed in life or not.
Nope.
It was playing, again, the victim-oppressor relationship. When you compare, when you include, not compare, when you put the victim-oppressor relationship in the middle of identity politics, well, then eventually you're going to get the circular firing squad, and that's what you've gotten. And that's why we're laughing, because it was the only way that it could go. It could not go any other way.
Right. Yep.
The only way it could go is that everybody turns against each other, and that's why the Rachel Maddow thing is so beautiful, and Keith Olbermann attacking her, because now she becomes she was the defender of the downtrodden.
Yeah.
Now she is the oppressor. And the white woman who is using her white privilege to stomp down on people of color.
Right.
Oh, my God, it's beautiful, because it's the only way that it could go.
Right. It was always going to end up here. It's not over, but it was always going to get to this point.
I did this a couple of months ago when I got an email, and it's somebody who's been a longtime listener, and said, "You guys called it." Goes, "My God, you guys called it. You were the first ones years ago to say that the radical transgender movement, if it continues, will destroy feminism."
Yep. And
it did.
And it did. Absolutely did.
Liberal feminism is gone.
Well, the iconic feminists have either given up, or they've become by the leftist standards, the oppressor. Martina Navratilova, who is again,
exactly right.
She's fighting against it. But you had the entire movement of feminists, and feminism is over as far as the left is concerned. You can't fight for women's rights anymore. It's conservatives who are doing it. You don't see. We talked about this the other day once again. And we've talked about it before. The liberal rank and file, they're not out there, doing the Riley Gaines thing. They're not out there fighting against that for their own side. They're not out there at all. It's only conservatives that are doing it, with the exception of Martina Navratilova,
J.K. Rowling.
J.K. Rowling. These aren't people who are traditional conservatives. Martina Navratilova, not at all. No. J.K. Rowling, not a conservative. But they see the insanity that's going on right now. But they're the exception. They're the exception to the left.
And the interesting thing is, liberal feminism died because the man said it should die.
Exactly.
And when Gloria Steinem said, "Oh no, I support men playing women's sports," we went, there it is. It's officially dead. It's officially dead, and because it's the only way that it could go.
Right.
There are some things that you can see, and so the racism thing, the identity politics, eventually it was going to hit Rachel Maddow.
Yep.
And it did.
Yep.
And a man had to tell her that she's a white man, had to tell her yesterday that she's in cahoots with the racist management.
Yep.
She is exerting her white privilege.
Yep.
God, it's beautiful. It's just absolutely. So, that's the enjoyment we get, because we knew it was coming. This wasn't like, wow, can you believe it happened? It was like, wow, it's happening, because there was no other way that it could go, and they didn't see it. She didn't see it. They're in such a little bubble of their own insane liberalism that they don't even know when the arrows come and are directed their way. They're shocked.
Yeah.
Oh, what is happening? Because it's what you've been promoting.
It's exactly what you wanted.
Yeah.
It had to have been. You had to have seen this coming. Wow.
Just amazing.
It really is. Really is. I look at it as, this, again, this big grand awakening that we're going through. This is a positive. If it is to continue, it's a positive. It's people observing reality more and more. We're not there yet because the left still has tens of millions of people who will vote for them and support this kind of absurd behavior, this insanity. They still get people to vote for them. A lot of people. And I said it the other day. If you're on the left and you're voting for Democrats, this is what you want. You're part of this.
Yeah.
You have to own it. You're making it happen.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We'll have more coming up following the top of the hour news, but some sad breaking news to report. Actor Gene Hackman and his wife found dead in their home in SanteFe, New Mexico. No foul play suspected. In fact, the first thing you think of is carbon monoxide poisoning because it was Gene Hackman, his wife,
and their dog.
And their dog.
Yeah.
Found dead inside their home. Wow.
Yeah.
You immediately think of Gene Hackman and how many movies go through your head.
Oh,
when
my
you
gosh.
Think about it, Mike. There's one after. Every time I think of one, I go, oh, but there was this too, and that too, and that too. So, and some of the great roles that he had, being in The Firm, Enemy of the State. I loved him in Enemy of the State.
Yeah.
Oh, he was just great in that movie. Unforgiven. Wow.
Right.
Superman. I mean, it's.
The voice of Lowe's hardware stores for years.
Yeah.
And you didn't even blink when he did it. Great actor, because a lot of times, if an actor of that caliber was doing commercials, like frowned upon, but he did the voiceover for it, and it was like, no, that's the perfect voice, for a hardware store. But so many great roles over the years. Yeah. Incredible roles over the
where
years.
You loved him,
or
like in a movie The Quick and the Dead, absolutely hated him.
Well, Enemy of the State with Will Smith.
He was,
my gosh, I love that movie.
I love it. He was fantastic in that movie.
Yeah, he made that movie. That was awesome. It was
and we're not forgetting Hoosiers.
Yeah,
more on the
right.
death of Gene Hackman coming up.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Oh, such sad news. Breaking news. Legendary actor Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy and dog found dead inside their New Mexico home. They say no foul play. I'll just read it. This is from the New York Post. Legendary Hollywood actor Gene Hackman has been found dead inside his SanteFe, New Mexico home, along with his wife. According to the SanteFe New Mexican, citing the police, SanteFe County Police discovered the body of the two-time Oscar winner. He was 95 years of age. His wife was 63. And their dog on Wednesday afternoon. No foul play is suspected and no cause of death has been announced. The SanteFe County Sheriff confirmed the news early this morning. Hackman, I don't even have to say this. Everybody knows it. One of the most accomplished actors of all time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm just going through the rundown of the movies that he's been in. And
well, and he retired deliberately. He said, it's it was a quote by him. It's a very emotional thing for me to watch myself on screen because I think of myself as young and I watch myself on screen and here's this guy with sagging chin and, receding hairline. He saw himself getting old on screen and he said that was emotional. I don't think he was like in a serious, like really distraught about that. But he said it affected him, and he basically retired. The last IMDb credit was 2004, over 20 years ago. And he could have worked as long as he wanted to because everybody loved him.
That's why we chose radio. We don't have to look at ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
I love this quote from him when he was talking about acting and, having to go on auditions and everything else, especially when he was young. But he said it continued through his whole life. He said, quote, "It was more psychological warfare because I wasn't going to let those F words get me down. I insisted with myself that I would continue to do whatever it took to get a job. It was like me against them." And in some way, unfortunately, I still feel that way. But I think if you're really interested in acting, there's a part of you that relishes the struggle. It's a narcotic in the way that you're trained to do this work, and nobody will let you do it. So you're a little bit nuts. You lie to people, you cheat, you do whatever it takes to get an audition and get a job. I just looking at you think about it, and I'm just going through the roles he was in, the number of movies.
Yeah.
And you're like, it goes all the way back. I think, what does it go back to here? 1961 was his first movie. Then 64, 66, 60. My entire life is Gene Hackman movies.
Well, when you think about like the French Connection, right? Okay, so for me as a kid, that was something that my dad would be watching. I was 5 years old when it came out, but then eventually it was on TV, right? And so that was iconic, just an iconic role. But all the parts that he did, he made it work. You and I were talking during the break. The Blind Man and Young Frankenstein. The scenes.
My gosh.
It was just, he could pull off comedy with no problem at all. I mean, and if you needed somebody who came off as the authority, man, you would hope to get Gene Hackman for that role. That's who that's on your wish list.
He could do everything. Because when you think about it, the French Connection came out in 71. And that just dominated everything.
Oh, yeah.
I would have been 16 years of age. I didn't see it then. I didn't see it till a long time after. But you heard about it everywhere.
Right.
And everybody was going to see it.
Right.
And you would think that the character of Popeye Doyle, because I saw it years later. And when I saw it, I went, and I'd seen a ton of Gene Hackman movies. I went, whoa, what a great movie for 71.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I saw it till in the 80s.
Right. Yeah.
And when I saw it, I went, what a great movie.
I didn't. That's probably when I saw it. Yeah.
And I thought to myself, wow, that didn't typecast him.
Yeah.
Because then they did French Connection 2, and he was such a unique character. And between French Connection 1 and French Connection 2, he did Young Frankenstein.
Right.
And remember, I forgot he was in the Poseidon Adventure in between that, too.
Oh, yeah.
And then, all the other movies. I mean, you look at Hoosiers, which was just classic, but you and I agree, and I didn't know about this, and because you mentioned it, Enemy of the State.
Yeah.
We're just, I loved him in that. Him and Will Smith, the way that reacted together. That was 98 he did that. Have you ever seen the movie Loose Cannons?
Yeah.
With him and Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a cop buddy. I mean, that is, it's hilarious. I mean, it's just, to me, now it's not he wasn't going to win an Oscar for that movie.
Right.
But you loved every character that he was in, even if you hated the character. I mean, the gunfighter movie, The Quick and the Dead.
Yeah.
I mean, you could hate his characters.
Yeah.
You used to go, what an idiot this guy is. I hope he, or even in Unforgiven when he's a sheriff.
Well,
I mean, he's an idiot.
The ultimate bad guy in Superman, Lex Luthor.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, but there was humor in that. That was a combination that he was able to pull off. But the thing is, I mean, like Unforgiven, I'm like, I hate this character. I mean, I loved his work, but I hated the character. I didn't even have sympathy at the end when Clint Eastwood put the final shot into him.
Yeah, right.
But he was able to draw you into anything. Oh, I just looking now. God, Mississippi Burning.
Yeah.
He was fantastic in that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, really was.
He was just great. And I don't, I think of actors that I like that can do any type of movie. He could do serious comedy. It doesn't matter. Anything he could do. And you loved it. He had an impact on you. It never was a character that was just, okay, that's just a fill-in character.
Right.
No matter how big or small the role is. And like I said, even in, I'll never forget, I don't even think I've seen the entire movie, but The Birdcage.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's like, talk about coming out of left field for that one.
Right.
But he pulled it off.
Yeah.
Oh, I know the one. Did you ever see Behind Enemy Lines?
Oh, yeah.
When he's the admiral of the ship.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I at the end, he's going to get demoted because he goes after his pilot, and a lot of it's pretty unreasonable. I mean, it's not going to happen in real life in the military that way. The way, but he was great.
Yeah,
he was great in Behind Enemy Lines.
Yeah,
wow, even the worst sports movie ever that he was in, The Replacements with Keanu Reeves.
But he pulled it off. I mean, the role, he pulled it off.
You're right. He pulled it off.
And that's the thing. There are a number of, there were a number of movies that he was in where you go, okay. Like you said, it's not going to be up for an Oscar, but it didn't matter.
Didn't matter. What do I care? Do I go to a movie? Does anybody go to a movie to see an Oscar performance, or they go to a movie to sit there and go, oh, that was fun.
Right.
That was great.
Exactly.
I don't need it's like, well, the work was, I don't know about that. I don't think about Oscar. I don't think about awards. I think about performances that affect me and grab me emotionally.
Right.
And all the movies he did that in some way. What was the other one? Oh, remember, in The Firm. He was great in The Firm.
Man, that
Firm,
one
he was great.
Yeah, that movie was like a puzzle, a legal puzzle coming together, right?
Yeah.
It was and really well done. Really well done.
And I try to sit and say, what other actor could do everything that he did that was a part of my entire teenage to adult life.
Yeah. Right.
And always be relatable, never get boring. He was never boring in any role he had. Never.
No.
I've never seen A Bridge Too Far. I've got to watch that now.
Yeah, it's been a while since I did see it.
I've never seen. I've got to go. I've never seen that.
I saw it on video on a VCR. For those under the age of 90, a VCR was. But yeah, I rented it at one point. Yeah, it's been a while though.
I gotta see The Heist too. I've never seen The Heist. Danny DeVito and Gene Hackman.
Yeah, right. Well,
you look
at a legacy like this, an acting legacy like this, and you look at, just go to his IMDb page, and over 100, roles here and movies that he was a part of. And it's a list of things, you know, my wife and I have been doing this a lot, going back and watching older movies. Because more and more, and it's not just because we're aging, Hollywood is just running out of original ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, something we watched a couple of weeks ago, Miss Congeniality. And it wasn't, you know, it not the biggest box office hit. It was a hit, but it was kind of funny. You know, it was enjoyable. Wasn't too serious. You know, it was an age when Hollywood wasn't afraid to make a comedy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You could go back, and then, my gosh, we go back to when we talk about Young Frankenstein or Blazing Saddles, movies that would never be made today because Hollywood's afraid to move, and they don't get that the humor lied in the absurdity. You know, in so many levels, and they're afraid to make comedies. They're afraid to make fun movies. They're afraid to make something because, you know, not every movie is going to be up for an Oscar or an award. We don't care. Is it entertaining in any way? Are there any redeeming qualities about the movie whatsoever that make it a good popcorn movie? You look at the Gene Hackman list on IMDb, his credits.
Yeah.
There's your list. Put that on your queue on Netflix or whatever, wherever you watch movies. Put these on there, and you're always going to be entertained.
Well, the thing is, he was an actor for actor's sake. You never sat there and thought, the magazines weren't saying sexiest man in the world or anything like that. It was This guy's an actor,
right? You know, I mean,
this guy's an actor in great roles.
Well, and that's the thing too. Somebody, I forget who said it, but it's there are no bad roles. Are you getting work as an actor? Is somebody willing to pay you to act? So there are no bad roles. It's what you make of them.
Do you know? This is something most people probably don't know. He turned down the role for Mike Brady in the Brady Bunch.
That would have been a totally different show.
But the thing is, you can't look back at his career and say that.
Right.
Because we look at everything he did, and because I went the same, no way. There's no way he's Mike Brady. Well, it's Gene Hackman. Could he have pulled it off? Yeah. I don't know where his career would have gone if he would have taken the role.
Well, would he have worn a curly hair wig?
His agent advised him not to take it.
Yeah.
And so he didn't take it.
I don't think that would have destroyed his career, but it wasn't a fit. It wasn't a fit.
No, I don't think it was. No, I just don't.
Greg, get downstairs. We need to talk. There would be so many serious moments. Jan would be doing the Marsha thing, and he'd go, "Quit your whining."
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to picture him with, sitting in. Were they in separate? Yeah, they were in separate beds, weren't they?
Were they? I don't remember.
They'd always be reading.
Yeah.
I just can't see him across from Florence Henderson.
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
Right.
It's not a criticism. It's just
he's reading the National Review. She's reading, something totally different. I mean, Alice, where's my damn tie? I mean, it would have been a totally different role.
Yeah, just sad to hear that. Gene Hackman found dead yesterday with his wife and dog in their home. No foul play is expected. It's funny because I was in Santa Fe last weekend, and I took 4 Uber rides.
Yeah.
Every single Uber driver mentioned that Gene Hackman lived there. Every single one.
There are videos that people have recorded on their phones of Gene Hackman, like at a local drive-thru, at a fast food, like a Taco Bell drive-thru, ordering lunch, just doing the normal thing there around Santa Fe where he lived.
So sad.
Yeah.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. At a roadside inspection, inspectors may ask to see supporting documents. A supporting document is a document generated or received by a motor carrier in the normal course of business that can be used by law enforcement to verify a driver's logs. These documents can include bills of lading, itineraries, schedules, or equivalent documents that indicate the origin and destination of each trip. They can also include dispatch or trip records, expense receipts related to on-duty/not driving periods, including receipts for meals, lodging, and fuel, electronic mobile communication transmitted through a fleet management system, and payroll records, settlement sheets, or equivalent documents that indicate payment to a driver. Drivers using paper logs must also keep toll receipts. Supporting documents must contain the driver's name, carrier-assigned identification number or vehicle unit number that can be linked to the driver, the date, the name of the nearest city, town, or village, and the time. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, that breaking news from about 40 minutes ago. Actor Gene Hackman found dead in his home with his wife. His wife also found dead with him. And their dog, No Foul Play, is suspected. I was just doing more reading. Lifelong friends started out real young with Robert Duvall.
Yeah.
And you know something?
Yeah.
The French Connection, which is really when he made it. He was 41.
Yeah. Wow.
So he really, you think about it, the majority of it wasn't that he started at 20 or 25. He was 41 by the time he hit it.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to work at it for a long time.
Right.
Here's another thing. Anybody have any idea what his politics were?
No. I didn't even know if he did home projects when he was the voice for Lowe's, but I bought it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He sounded like
that. Well, that's why he was universally loved. I think, because people just went, this guy entertains me.
He's doing the work.
Yep.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Before we get back to the stuff, what were you talking about, the actor Barry Corbin?
We were talking about, just these actors who have a great presence.
Yeah.
And Barry Corbin, the name came up in the conversation. I was over in the control room talking with the guys about Gene Hackman, and Barry Corbin's name came up. We were talking about some voiceover work that Barry Corbin had done, because we were also talking about voiceover work that Gene Hackman did.
Yeah.
We mentioned Lowe's.
Barry Corbin did a ton of things for radio.
Local
radio station.
In fact, one of our sister stations. Now it's one of our sister stations. Back in the day, it wasn't, but did some voiceover. He was the voice of the country radio station.
Yeah, you could hear.
Yeah.
I just my ears perked up because it goes back, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, and I was at the Fort Worth Stock Show in rodeo, so I, pretending to be the cowboy.
Mm-hmm.
So I put on, my cowboy hat, and my boots, and
your costume,
my costume, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
It's a costume.
Right.
It's like the one year I can wear that costume. And I walked through the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo, and you see real cowboys, and you're like, God, I'm such a poser.
Hey, I can take you to my father-in-law's ranch and work you for a week, and that way you won't have to say that anymore if you want.
Well, so I walk up to see my old buddy Buck Taylor, the actor from Gunsmoke and Tombstone, you name it. I mean, great character actor in a zillion things.
Right.
And so I walk up and there he is. I go, hey, Buck, Gary, how you doing? He goes, hey, did you ever meet Barry? I go, no. I look, it's talking to Barry Corbin.
Yeah.
And so for like the next 30 minutes, there I am. It's Buck, Barry, and me.
Yeah.
I never felt so out of place because I'm like, these are really two cowboys.
Yeah.
And I'm a complete fraud.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I don't fit here.
Barry was neighbors and friends with the former host of the all-night show on WBAP, going back to our show, our old show, Bill Mack.
Bill Mack, was he really?
They were friends.
I didn't know that.
Friend of mine who I've worked with on and off in radio, I've known him for, my gosh, we're a better part of 40 years now. Ken, he works now for the Texas Rangers, the baseball organization, not the law enforcement group. And he one day was looking online, it was Craigslist back then, not Facebook Marketplace, and found a pool table, right? So he calls the number locally, and, lady answers, says, yes, it's still for sale. He goes, okay, can I get your address? We'd like to look at it, and if it's in good shape, we think we're going to buy it. So drives over there and then knocks on the door. Barry Corbin answers, you're here for the pool table? Come on in. It's back here. And it was like, Ken was like,
well,
he said, I just zoned out. Nothing in that moment from that point on was about the pool table. Barry Corbin standing there. It was great.
It's like buying John Voight's car.
Okay, I got to send Ken a text about that. I said, okay, you've seen the Seinfeld reference, John Voight's car. Barry Corbin's pool table. Do you still have it? Yeah, it's, you think about all these actors who have and had such a great presence as we talk about the breaking news this morning, the death of Gene Hackman. He and his wife and their pet dog all found dead in their SanteFe, New Mexico home. Authorities say they do not suspect foul play, but they're early in the investigation. And you think about the legacy of work by Gene Hackman and certain actors that have, a presence. What Hollywood has really forgotten is what people like, right? Vince Vaughn kind of alluded to this in a recent conversation he had on the online show Hot Ones, where they eat the hot chicken wings. And by the way, he didn't even break a sweat. He was eating the hottest of the sauces and never broke a sweat. But they kind of alluded, they were talking about that, being able to make, because Vince Vaughn making, those, college humor kind of buddy comedy movies that they did, earlier in his career. And, that Hollywood got away from that, and he's hopeful that they'll get back to that. I'm not so hopeful as a fan of good entertainment. We all like good entertainment. But when agenda comes through, when it has to be about something else, when it has to be, look, if you want to make a message movie, make a message movie. And if people like it, then they like it. That's fine. But entertainment is your number one goal. It always should be. And Hollywood has lost, the sight of that. But when you think of someone like a Gene Hackman and all these movies, you look at his IMDb list of credits, and it's just over 100 credits there. It's an amazing list and a varied list. It's a very diverse list of movies and roles. And you think, man, why aren't they making movies like this anymore? And it's not just because of my age. I'm only 59. I'm not even close, not near as old as you are. And I don't consider, while I'm outside, did that one hurt?
They stopped making good movies after The Wizard of Oz.
You know, after the last John Wayne movie, it was over. But it was, I can't. By the way, I can't say that in front of my dad.
After The Shootist, it was. By the way, John Wayne's last movie, The Shootist, with Ron Howard, was a great movie. Yeah. I didn't see that till like 15 years ago.
Right.
What a great movie that is. But go ahead.
And so we, as a consuming public, as the audience, we want certain things. I mean, to me, I've always been this way. The comic book movies, the superhero comic book movies, with the exception of the first Iron Man, which I thought was a really interesting military strategy kind of movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But with the exception of that, a guy wearing tights and a weird mask just looks silly to me. But I know why people go, like the whole Batman thing. It's like, dude, what are you doing? Everybody knows it's you. Why are you even wearing a mask? It's that just looks silly. But I thought that, by the way, as a kid, right? And then the guy that didn't wear the mask, Superman, what they do to disguise him? Some glasses. I had no idea. Clark Kent is Superman? But
we all wondered that as kids, though,
right,
too.
No, we all saw right through that. But
fine.
And I understand that, those things work too. That's fine. But really, it was the messaging in the movies and the agenda that got through, because Vince Vaughn alluded to this in that aforementioned conversation on Hot Ones, and about they have to greenlight a project based on, okay, why is it important to make this movie? Entertainment. That's why.
Sell tickets.
You have an audience that wants to. I mean, he's not the only one. By the way, Jamie Foxx talked about this, by the way, years ago, about comedy and things that you can and can't do anymore, and that's stupid. Jamie Foxx is hilarious, very creative, very funny. Why would you hold him back from doing anything because you need to know why it's important to do that project? You got Jamie Foxx. Go do the project. Go do the movie, something silly and funny, and you're going to sell tickets to it. And if somebody's offended by it, so what?
Well, that's why I asked the question earlier. Not a question, I made the statement. I said, I had no idea what Gene Hackman's politics were.
Right.
Yet I never cared. All I cared about is if somebody told me, you got to go see this movie, Gene Hackman was in it.
Yeah.
I'm more likely to go see it than I would be, no, I don't want. I've seen so many, because you knew Hackman could do anything. Right. And that's what movies are about. It's about entertainment. It's about making, for Hollywood, it's about making money.
Yeah.
And you make money by entertaining people. And Gene Hackman entertained people in a variety of ways.
Yep.
You could hate the character and still go, wow, he was great.
Right. Right.
You figured, you knew it was acting. I mean, you go into a movie knowing it's acting, so you set aside some of the realism of life. Well, that wouldn't really happen. I don't think that would. It's like, the funniest thing is, I love on the Seinfeld sites on social media. Mm. Well, why would Elaine do that? Well, Kramer did this. Nobody would really do that in real life. And people respond going, what the hell's wrong with you?
This is a sitcom. It's comedy.
Sitcom. And then the other one, it's like, why do all comedies have people that are not normal?
Right.
Because that's funny.
Right, exactly. Well, I got over the whole thing of, this isn't real. I know that Superman can't actually fly. Yeah, I gotta. What I can't understand, though, is why every superhero needs to land on one knee. That I don't know.
Well, I would think. I think it's completely unrealistic, because if these superheroes are really superheroes, they'd have a lot. The men superheroes, they'd have a lot more women.
Well, not only that,
they never really have women.
They would
Why not?
They would brag about it a lot more. This is why I liked Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, because at the end of the first Iron Man, he was like, no, it's okay. I'm Iron Man. I'm Iron Man. It's like, okay, that's what I'm talking about. If I were Superman, I'm not putting glasses on. I'm Superman. Why would I put glasses on to get a job? you should want to pay me just to be Superman. Right. In fact, unless you do, I'm not getting that cat out of that tree. Right. It's going to cost you $20 minimum. It's like, it's
like Trump and Ukraine?
Yeah, exactly. Everyone knows it's going to be great.
No,
the greatest hero ever.
I'm just saying, I agree with what he's doing, by the way, and they're going to be meeting tomorrow on it, and it's great because, and I forgot who had it. I don't know if it was somebody wrote it yesterday. It was a great point. It's a point that we made because when the first thing came out, we go, no, do the deal. You're going to be selling it to the United States. You're going to benefit from this. It's not going to. The United States isn't going to take everything. That's not what's happening. No. They did a deal, and because it's an economic now. Right now, Russia's going. Putin's going. By
the way, this is the deal that Putin didn't see coming.
Yeah, I agree. Right,
that created a genuine American interest that isn't putting boots on the ground.
Right.
And so now it's daring Putin to do something else.
Well, that's why we've said a lot of times you can't pay attention to what Trump says. You pay attention to what he does.
Exactly. Right.
And as we said in the first term, his worst enemy was his own words.
Right.
It was the words that got him in trouble, not his actions.
Right.
But with Gene Hackman, like I said, I had no idea what his politics were. Didn't care. All I know is I went in there, and it would be, if he's in the movie, more often than not, it's a great script.
Yeah.
And so you're going to enjoy the script.
Yep.
He worked with great people. You're going to enjoy the people. I mentioned the movie. I don't know if anybody's ever seen it. I mean, you have Loose Cannons, but him and Dan Aykroyd. Yeah, to me, that's one of Dan Aykroyd's best roles ever.
It was a great.
I mean, that's better than Blues Brothers.
He made Dan Aykroyd better because those two paired together. Again, I wouldn't have seen it coming, but it was really good because Gene Hackman and he had that chemistry. It kind of elevated Aykroyd in that role, in my opinion. Valerie Perrine, who starred with Gene Hackman in the Superman movies, posting on X a little while ago, in fact, a couple of minutes ago, the great Gene Hackman has passed away. He was a genius and one of the greatest to grace the silver screen. I had the honor of working with him on Superman. His performances are legendary. His talent will be missed. Goodbye, my sweet Lex, referring to his role of Lex Luthor. Till we meet again, Valerie. That's Valerie Perrine, former co-star of Gene Hackman's, posting just a couple of minutes ago on X, but one of the many tributes that are pouring in.
Well, I remember watching the first Superman when he was on there, and it was like, this guy's pure evil and fun.
Yeah, no, it was great. I loved it. He had some great lines in that movie. Yeah, very fun. Really good.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
I wonder whether it was carbon monoxide poisoning or what it might have been. So,
yeah,
when they say no foul play, it means it wasn't a murder suicide. Right?
Well, that's what it tells me.
That's what you would think.
That's what you would think. So that would be the question. Then what would it be? So
866-90 Red Eye.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today. Why? Because when our show ends in an hour, it becomes our podcast. And if you couldn't catch all 5 hours, you can do so by listening to a repeat of the show, which is on our podcast. And if you can't listen during the night, or if you can't listen to one of our great radio stations during the night for some reason, we stream live all 5 hours on our app.
Yeah, and thank you.
Yep. Coming up, Epstein Files. Coming today?
Wow.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.